bending those hips back, separating those knees, walking those hands forward. Forehead can rest down on the mat. Just start to take some deep inhales through the nose. Take a big sigh out of your mouth, let it go. Good, we'll do another one just like that. Nice deep inhale through the nose. Fill the belly with air. Hold that breath at the top. Big sigh out, let it go. Now I just want to switch your breathing into what's called nostril breathing. So just in and out through the nose. So just take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Again, filling that belly with air. And then a slow exhale through the nose. And then just start to move back and forth in your breath. So even if this is all we did, we just took a moment here to just settle into our hips and took some time to just breathe. That would already be helping to lower our cortisol, to take us out of fight or flight into rest and digest. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I teach stretch. Good. Then go ahead, come on up to hands and knees. We're just going to do a couple of cat-cows just to move through the spine. So hands are going to go right underneath those shoulders. I'm going to turn myself a little bit so you guys can see me better here. Hands are right underneath the shoulders. Knees are going to go right underneath the hips, so not too wide, not too narrow. And then just dropping that belly, gazing forward as we open up the heart. Exhale as we round out the spine. Gaze back towards the belly. Stretch the back of that spine. And then just moving back and forth here. So if you're used to doing really fast movements, whether that's really fast like yoga flows or just really fast workouts, I remember a time in my life where it was really, this would have been like, oh my gosh, come on, you're going so slow. But that is the purpose, that is the intention. That's why I love to teach this to kids, because if we can all learn the benefits of just slowing down a little bit, that will go a long way. And then just start to take some lateral twists. So left hip swings to the left. We look back towards that left hip, stretch out the right oblique, and then inhale, exhale, switch sides. Right hip goes out to the right, gaze goes back towards the right. And then just inhaling one direction, exhaling the other direction. Couple more here. Good, then we're just gonna walk those hands forward, curl your toes, lift your hips up, come into an inversion, and then just start to heel toe your feet out. So bending one heel as we press the opposite, or bending one knee, I apologize, as we press the opposite heel. Maybe come high up on your toes. You might get a little crack in your feet. And then just bending the left leg, press deep into that right heel. Then separate those fingers nice and wide. Press the center of your palm and then push your hips back. See if you can get into your hamstring and your calf on that right side. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose, exhale, switch sides. Bend deep in that right leg, press that left heel. Every exhale, see if you can press back just a little bit more. And then we're going to keep that left heel pressed. Let that right leg rise up behind you. Point the toe. It's okay if the hip opens here. I want that leg nice and straight. I just want to make sure your shoulders are squared off to your mat. So you're not rotating the heart open to the side. You're saying belly button pointing towards your mat. And then bend your knee, flex your foot on the back. All right, sorry, I had a little interference there. Okay, so if you find yourself coming forward more to get a deeper stretch, I just want you to slide your left leg back so that knee stays right over that ankle. So high up on those fingertips. And I always just encourage my students, just close your eyes and breathe. So we're just going to pause here for a few breaths. We're really aiming to stretch out the left hip flexor. Think about letting that hip release. So a lot of times we're holding tension in the muscle without even realizing it. So really focus on that left hip. See if you can just relax it. Good. Then we're going to curl the toes on your back foot. Take your left knee back just a little bit. We're going to take a nice deep inhale as we open up the heart here. And then we're going to exhale as we straighten that leg and pull the forehead towards the shin. Then we're just going to go back and forth here. If this is really hard for you to straighten out that leg because that hamstring is really tight, it's okay if it's bent. Just stretch it as far back as you can. And every time you go back, see if you can use a deep exhale to get it just a little bit straighter or fold in just a little bit more. So inhale as we come forward, exhale as we come back. So think little back bend, chest, heart opens, and then we round out the spine on the way back. Good, we'll take two more here. So melt into that left hip when we come forward, fold into that shin on our way back. Good, one more lunge. And then when we come back here, we're going to stay back in this hamstring stretch. So I'm going to walk my hands back and take my right thumb to my right hip crease and just pull that right hip back a little. I'm going to arch my back just a little bit, and I feel a really deep stretch in that right hamstring. I'm going to keep the upper body nice and long, and I'm going to come down with a flat spine. I'm trying to come down as far as I can with the flat spine. When I can't come down any further, then I'm going to let my upper body round out. The lower part of my back is staying flat, even a little arch, to keep that stretch going in that hamstring. And then just breathe into this hamstring. You might not be all the way down here. You might be up here, or you might have maybe blocks or a couple books. You could use books on each side to hold yourself up. So wherever you're at, just breathe into that stretch. Good. We're going to come back to that lunge, and then I'm just going to frame my foot with my hands, step back to my inversion. So right back where we started. Then my left leg's going to come on up, point the toes. See how high you can get that leg, open up that hip by keeping those shoulders, that belly squared off to the mat, and then bend the knee, flex the foot. Think about bringing that left heel to that right glute. Inhale, open it up. Exhale, step it forward. So remember, we want lots of space between those feet. So if you need a deeper stretch, rather than shifting your knee forward, take your right leg back. So that left knee stays stacked over that left ankle. And then we come high up on our fingertips. We open up the heart and breathe. So now we're really focusing on that right hip flexor. So just really try and let that right hip just melt down. So sometimes it can be really hard to be still when there's lots of noise happening around you or chaos happening around you. So if we can practice doing that when we are stretching, when we have space to actually be in peace and quiet, then when there's not peace and quiet around us, we've practiced this enough that we can still stay calm. Or at least that's the goal, right? Good. Take an inhale here. Now curl those back toes if they're not already curled. Slide that knee back a little bit and take an inhale, open up that heart, and then an exhale as we straighten that leg, folding that forehead in. And then we'll just go back and forth. So the reason that we move back and forth instead of just going right into that stretch is this is just going to ease us into it. It's warming up the muscle. It's telling the muscle, hey, we're coming for you. Pay attention. You are where we are focusing. And we're just kind of giving it a little opportunity to just wake up a little bit before we go full force into that stretch. All right, we'll do one more lunge and then one more exhale back. Walk those hands back. So there's so many things, like we could just, if we were at a gym, they wouldn't be paying attention to the alignment. The alignment would just be like no big deal. But this is very alignment based. One, it's going to protect you so you don't injure yourself. Two, it's going to support you with all the other things that you do. So whether you're working out, lifting weights, running on a treadmill, even just having these little, like noticing the little movements in the body are just going to go a really long way as far as protecting yourself. So we're going to take that left out of that left hip, pull that hip back a little bit. Notice how that makes you want to arch your back. So arch your back, even if it's just a teeny bit. And what I mean by that, when I say arch your back, instead of rounding your back, I want it arched. So it's almost like you feel like you're sticking your hips out. So that little movement right there is just going to get that much deeper in that left hip. So pull that hip back, arch that back, and then that back is flat. So I'm trying to come down as far as I can with that back flat without moving that hip or rounding up my back. Once I can't go any further, I still keep that lower portion of my back flat, but then I let my head fall forward. And again, like I said, you might be up here, your leg might be bent, you might be holding on to some books or some blocks or something just to balance. As long as you're getting a stretch in that hamstring, that's really all that matters. So I'm going to get as deep into it as I can, then I'm just going to take some really deep, loud, audible breaths. With every exhale, I'm going to see if I can get a little deeper in that stretch. Good. Take one more inhale. Good. Exhale, come on forward. Okay, so we're going to go right into a quad stretch since we're already in this position. So my right heel is going to go right under my glute. My left foot's going to stay right where it is. I'm just going to walk my hands back. All right, so all I'm going to do here is lift my hip up off the ground. So you have to have this sensation. You have to be purposefully lifting this hip. I want you to think about pushing your knee forward into the mat and pressing your left foot in. All of that is going to get the leverage we need to stretch out this right quadricep muscle, so the front of your thigh. And breathe. This might feel like it is so tight, and this is all that you need. If you feel like you need to get deeper, another option is to bring your heel on the outside of that glute right here, right next to my body. My knee is still pointing directly forward. My left foot's going to come and hug in, and then I'm going to come back here. So it could just be preference of what you enjoy. It could be whatever is going to get you a deeper stretch. If this again is easy, you can come all the way down, but my knee's starting to pop up off the ground. If you see it, it's because my quad is really, really tight. So what's going to happen is this is going to go into my lower back. So instead of doing that, I'm going to just stay right here because this is where I'm finding my edge of the pose. So I am like, I'm getting a really deep stretch, but I'm not pulling on any other muscles. I'm keeping proper alignment. So that's where you want to stay. And then we just want to breathe. And another thing is just by being here for a few breaths. So maybe you start up here and you're breathing. And then a few minutes later, you're like, oh, I'm starting to not feel this anymore. First, I want you to make sure that you're being active. So if I'm just sitting in this posture, I'm not feeling the stretch. What I need to do to feel the stretch is slightly lift this hip up and slightly push that knee forward. And then even just that, I go from here, just that little adjustment in my hip, I am feeling the stretch so much more. So I'm going to keep that active as I come back. And then just a couple more breaths here. Good. Wherever you are, we're just going to come on up and we're just going to switch sides. So I'm going to start with the way I showed you first. So left heel is going to go right under that glute. And then we're pressing, this knee is shooting forward no matter which option you chose. And so just do that same option on this side. So this right foot's going to press, my left heel is under my left glute, and I'm actively lifting that hip up and pushing that knee forward and down. So whichever option you want to do. I'm going to just check and make sure if you guys are asking me any questions. Let's see. Oh, hi, Cameron. I hope you're stretching with us. Okay, we're good. All right, so wherever your sweet spot is, breathe into that left quad. If you're feeling the need to go faster, you feel like this is too slow, I'm just going to challenge you to stick with it, because oftentimes what we don't want is what we need the most. So if you were like, oh my gosh, this is so dreadfully slow, I want faster, chances are your mind is going a million miles a minute and you're trying to have your body keep up with it, when really all your body is doing is begging you to slow down. Just slow down your mind for a few minutes of the day and just see what happens. All right, we're going to go through 3 glute exercises, or stretches, I should say, not exercises. We are not exercising, we are stretching. And then I think that'll probably be good for today. So what we're going to do is this front shin is going to stay where it is. I'm going to take my left leg back. We're going to go into pigeon. So if you are super flexible, this shin might be all the way forward. This foot might be flexed. And then you're sliding your left leg back. If you are really tight in this right glute muscle, you're going to take this right heel back towards you more, and then center out the body. I just want to make sure you're not rolling off to the side. So wherever you are, you're centered here, and then just coming forward so you can feel this glute stretching. So I'm going to bring my foot back forward because I want to get a really deep stretch here. And sometimes I even have to hold it because I'm so tight. And then you can either come down to your forearms. If you have a pillow or a stack of books or block, you can place under your forehead, or you can walk those hands forward. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. So I want you to be continuously thinking about bringing that upper body forward over that shin and then stretching that left leg back behind you. And then just take some deep breaths into that muscle. I'm hoping you guys can hear the birds singing in the background. Good, just a couple more deep breaths here. All right, so we're going to walk the body up. I'm going to keep the right leg where it is. I'm going to swing that left leg around front. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to switch out and put your right leg on top of your left. Okay. So that is important because we are going to stay in the right glute. So by having the right leg on top, we should be feeling it more in the right. So my hips are fairly flexible, so I'm kind of able to walk my feet away from me a little bit, and I'm able to get this knee like really sandwiched in with the other knee. But if your hips are really tight, you might look more something like this, and that's okay. I just want to make sure that you're feeling that right glute stretch. So this might be all that you need. If you are a little bit more flat where I am, and you're like, well, I could get a little deeper stretch, you're just going to lean forward into it. But I want you to keep that flat back sensation where that chest is lifted, and you're just using your fingers to keep yourself propped up, but you're pushing into your fingers and you're pushing your hip down behind you, and you're using that leverage to get a really good deep stretch out of that right glute. So take some nice deep breaths. Good. We're going to take this just one step further. I'm going to take my left elbow to the outside of my right knee. I'm going to stack my hands, and I'm just going to press into a little twist here to see if I can get a little deeper around that glute, maybe up into your QL a little bit. Good. And then we're going to release that. Okay, so the next one, we just worked the two large glute muscles. Now we're going to work the smaller muscles that are on the side. So I'm going to bring my left shin forward, and my right shin is going to stack on top of that. So make sure your right shin is the one on top. If this is too much for you and this knee cannot come down, I'm going to have you just bring your right shin in front of your left shin. All right. Same thing here. So that bottom shin needs to come forward all the way. And then we just fold into it if you need to just get a little bit deeper. So you should just feel this move from the big muscle to the little muscles on the side that often get neglected. All right, so what we're going to do from here, we are strategically placed, ready for our other side in our pigeon. So we're going to take that right leg back. Let's see, Amy's here. Holy mackerel, that stretch. She needed that. That's awesome. All right, so my left shin is going to come as forward as my body can. I'm slide my right leg back. And again, I like to start lifted a little bit, just making sure my body is centered. All right. Again, you might have this heel back by you, but if you can bring it forward, try and bring it forward. And then try not to sink back. I want you to come forward. So really think about bringing that belly over that front shin. Bring those forearms forward. Oh yeah, that left glute is definitely feeling the stretch. And then you can stay here if this feels good. You can come to your forearms. You can stretch your arms out long. I just want you to try and be somewhere where you're content for about a minute or two. Just breathe into that left hip. Roll that weight forward into that shin as much as you can. Couple more deep breaths and we'll slide out of this. Good. Check in with yourself. Are you breathing? Are you thinking about what you're going to do later? Are you just present in your body? All right, we're going to press up. I'm going to help this leg around, and then we're going to switch. We're going to take the left leg on top of the right. I'm turning sideways just so that my feet are on the mat. It's just a little bit more comfortable that way. But again, you might be all the way up here depending on your flexibility. So find that place where you're just still getting that stretch in the large glute muscle. If you happen to be scrolling by and seeing us, we're just getting a nice gentle stretch in on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Again, if you are watching this replay, just type replay so I know you were here. Really think about releasing the muscle, because sometimes we're like in a stretch and we're actually holding it so tight we don't even realize it, that we're trying to stretch it, but we're not even letting it happen. So really put that intention into just letting that stress and that tension go. So sometimes our stress and tension is coming from weightlifting, exercise, daily life activities, and sometimes that stress is coming from our headspace. Where's our headspace? What's happening in your life? What's going on with your finances, your kids, your parents? All of that stuff is causing stress, inflammation, tension in our body. And that's why it is so crucial to get into these positions and to breathe. It's not just about the stretching. You're not going to get the same thing out of a stretch you do in front of the TV as you are a stretch where you're in quiet space and you're breathing, because that breath is going to do so much to help to move that out of your body as well. All right, come on up. Now, either the left shin is going to go in front of the right or it's going to go on top. Just make sure that that right shin is pulled all the way out. If that right shin is tucked in like your crisscross applesauce, you're not going to feel it as much. So bring it forward. And you're going to notice the more forward you get, the more that knee wants to pop up. So leaning into it just a little bit is going to help it to stay down. Another little trick that I have done in the past is if you bring one hand to each foot and you press your feet together as you fold and like push your feet into your hands and your hands into your feet, you're going to also feel that go a little bit deeper in that hip. So whatever you have to do, but we're working on the side muscles over here on the side of the glute. All right, come on up. Okay, you're going to just unwind everything. Come back to table. We're going to do a little bit more on those hips, and then this is it. So I'm back into my lunge, but this time, first I'm going to walk my left knee back as far as I can. So you guys never want to be on your kneecap. So anytime you're in a lunge, you always want to be leaning forward, so you're putting pressure above the knee instead of on the kneecap. And then we're just going to walk that foot out to a 90 degree and turn those toes out. And we're just going to pause here for a moment. So you should just be feeling a stretch all across the front of those hips. Okay, then we're going to take it a step further. I'm going to plant my left hand. I'm going to flex my foot. I'm going to roll the inner side of my foot up, and I'm just going to bring my hand gently to my inner thigh. So what's really important here is I don't want you like this, because what this is doing is closing off your shoulder, causing tension there. I want you to open up your heart, come into a little gentle twist, and then also watch this, because the tendency is to sink. So we push up and out, and then just gently press that hip open. So relax the left hip. If it hurts your left knee at all, just curl your toes under on that left foot, and that's going to take some pressure out. Good. And then come on back to center. Take that right leg back. Bring that left leg forward. So first, hands are going to come to the center. I'm just going to walk that foot out. I'm going to slide my right knee back as far as I can. You might even need to pop up on your fingertips. And first, I'm just going to pause here. But what I'm going to do to get deeper in this muscle, because we know a lot of times if we're passive, we're not really feeling anything. So press the top of that right foot into the mat and see if you can start to feel that right hip stretch. Good. And then we're going to press that palm. I'm going to flex my foot. So pull the toes up as much as you can and then peel the foot open and then just good. Take one more nice deep breath in. Exhale, come out. All right, my friends, that's all for today. So we did